Hello and welcome to the program. I'm your host, Ron Whitlock, and our guest today, Bill Harris, Professor, University of Texas, Brownsville, and Tony Knott, Professor Emeritus, University of Texas, Brownsville. He was a political science professor, UTB, but now he's doing more fishing than he is teaching.
Well, a little bit.
And we're here to talk about the presidential election going into November. Now, most folks say that it's Senator Barack Obama that's dominating the scene. Others would say it's Senator John McCain dominating the election cycle and the campaign to the White House. However, there are many others along the border region who say it's really Hillary and Sarah, two names, Hillary and or Sarah, that's really going to be determinant as to what happens on the southern border of the United States, because either one of these two females may in fact be able to sway what Hispanics do in a big, big way, both all the way from Brownsville to Southern California. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I certainly think with regard to Hillary that there will be, she could play an important role in all this. She was clearly the favorite of Hispanics. I mean, down in South Texas, in the primary, she won by more than 2-1 in most areas here in South Texas. Will people be willing to stick with the Democrats when she is not leading the ticket? That's the issue, I think.
And is she really, in fact, behind Barack Obama, or is it truly lip service what she's doing to try and say to her former supporters and those who have supported her throughout the process, 18 million, now I want you to vote for Barack Obama? Really, it's not, I'm just saying that, but in fact, maybe you need to stay home and let me run against John McCain 4 years from now.
Well, there was a little bit of that impression, I think, at the convention. She gave a speech that endorsed Obama, but she really didn't talk very much about Obama. And I think there was a feeling on the part of analysts that there was a lack of enthusiasm there. Bill Clinton, the following night, seemed to come across as more enthusiastic, but he had already undercut that impression when he had raised the issue about the possibility of two candidates running for president, one of them that you agree with but he can't deliver, and the other one that you agree with only part of the time but can deliver. And then he says, well, I don't mean it's applying to this particular election, but of course that's the way people interpreted it, that Barack Obama, you might agree with him, but that he wouldn't feel that he could deliver.
Bill, Sarah Palin brought into this cycle right after Barack Obama's acceptance speech that night. The following morning, John McCain brings in this crazy woman from Alaska, this woman who has taken on her own party, this woman who has done all these things, put her executive jet on eBay, and kind of energized the base, and in some ways really kind of showed herself as, even some of these pundits across the nation, as a folk hero in the making.
I think that's all true, and I think that she's been a kind of a grenade that was sort of lobbed out of left field into the middle of the assembly as they were preparing to do the nominations. And I think that people are just kind of, as they look at her in this area, certainly, I don't think that she has quite as much draw as we're seeing nationally. Now, I think also that sort of the Democrats have sort of shot themselves in the foot with respect to her in the sense that the left wing of the party, the people that are on the far left of the party, have gone out of their way to find every kind of, I mean, really, really awful mud to throw at her, some of it pretty far out. And the result, I think, has been sort of one, you get her dropping into the middle, coming out of nowhere and just appearing there, and then that's followed up by these absolutely vicious and pretty much ridiculous attacks. And I think that has done a good deal to, one, as you said, galvanize the base, which McCain badly needed to do. I don't think it plays as well here in South Texas because I don't think this is the McCain base.
Well, I think that she is more likely to energize some women. There's the implication that McCain brought her on to try to get some of the women that had supported Hillary and were disillusioned. But I think it's gone farther than that. She turns out to be somebody who has a lot of charisma, or at least appears to have, and that may counteract the Obama charisma that has been such a strong feature so far in the campaign.
as always, the independents are sort of the battlefield for all of this. The people who are devoted to Hillary, I can't imagine any of them thinking of voting on the grounds of Governor Palin being on the ticket.
Well,
not for her anyway.
Not
if they were issue driven.
Not if they, right, and there's the key.
Exactly.
If they were issue driven.
Exactly.
But there were a lot of women out there who felt it's time for a woman to have a chance. And when Hillary was shot down, here's another opportunity to give a woman a chance,
yes.
and that's the way some of them will look at it.
It's kind of being pitched that she has all this executive experience and has more executive experience than Barack Obama because she was a mayor for 6-7 years. She was a city councilman prior to that. She has been the CEO and governor of a major state. She is the most popular governor in the entire United States. But it also could be said that she also has more executive experience than John McCain.
Well, exactly. The problem is, although Alaska may be our biggest state, population-wise, it's one of the smallest. And her experience at the state level is only about 2 years so far. But it's true. She's the only one in the race at this point that has had executive experience.
Carl Rove would say that she has more one-on-one retail experience by having been a mayor one-on-one where she makes a vote at city council one night and the next morning she must face every one of her constituents who's going to say, why did you vote this way? Why did you not vote that way? So that on that basis, she has more executive experience one-on-one retail politics than anybody on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. She was speaking to that when she made the comment about responsibility and comparing herself to Obama and his record as a community organizer. I think she was
in retaliation for the Obama campaign, having said just the converse of that.
Yes, and they walked right into that. I mean, they just walked right into that and laid it open for, okay, now let's really talk about who does have administrative experience. It was another example of what we just mentioned, the notion that the Democrats have sort of messed up on a couple of issues here so far. One was this business about the immediate throw the mud and see if any of that will stick. But the other one was this business about, well, okay, let's talk about, well, you can no longer discuss issues revolving around experience and responsibility because you're candidate. Well, they walked right into that one too. And now they spend an awful lot of time, or they are spending an awful lot of time extricating themselves from these sort of traps of their own making.
So where does the Hispanic voter along the border region, Brownsville all the way to California, stand? When you go halfway, that'd be El Paso. The El Paso Times and News Channel 9 poll indicated going into the conventions that John McCain is the leading person people intend to vote for in the city of El Paso and its county. 38% intend to vote for John McCain, 36% intend to vote for Barack Obama. With a 2% margin of error, that means it's real close and could be either way, but it's undoubtedly slightly an edge to John McCain going into the convention. That being such a heavy Democrat county on the border, does this shock either one of you that John McCain leads in El Paso?
It is a shocker. The notion, particularly before the post-convention bump that McCain seems to have gotten, that he would be leading in El Paso, along the Texas-Mexico border, really is kind of a shocker. And the only possibility is that people may have picked up on this, the attacks on NAFTA that he had been making, that Obama had been making. The NAFTA is popular along the Texas-Mexico border. It's certainly popular down here, and I have no reason to believe it would be unpopular out there. And for Obama to be saying that he wants to renegotiate that treaty, well, if you're going to renegotiate, with the other side has to negotiate too. And there are favorable things for the United States in that treaty that they may want to change as well. And all of this could undermine the economic growth that's taken place along the border, which may account for some of the unhappiness with Obama, if that poll is accurate.
I think in this area, in this region, and by that I mean all the way up along the border, up to El Paso and past it, I think that what we're finding is that people who are sitting on the fence, Democrats who were looking at this and saying, well, I'm tied to Hillary. Hillary's not our candidate. Obama's our candidate. I'm not really wild about him, and now he's saying these things about NAFTA, and we can see, anybody living in this region can see that you'd have to be blind not to see the benefits of NAFTA to the region.
The El Paso Times News Channel 9 poll indicates that Senator John McCain, in the last polling done in the El Paso County, intend to vote for John McCain. 38% of the El Pasoans, 36% of the El Pasoans in the poll indicate they are going to vote for Barack Obama. That was the last poll taken going into both conventions. We talked to the congressman from that region, the powerful Silvestre Reyes, who used to be the chief of the Border Patrol in the Rio Grande Valley, now the #1 congressman in the state. He's chairman of the Intelligence Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives. We asked him what he thought about Obama's plan to renegotiate NAFTA. Here's his response.
In terms of NAFTA, in the last 10, 12 years, is greatly diversify our economy in the El Paso area. I think that is the key, not just in El Paso, but all along the border. It just makes good economic sense. I do not think that revisiting the whole issue of the North American Free Trade Agreement would be a good idea at this time.
So their own powerful congressman in El Paso, where they're leaning toward McCain apparently, based on the last poll numbers, tells me that he thinks it would be a mistake for his candidate, Barack Obama, to ask Mexico to renegotiate that treaty.
Well, I don't think that Silvestre Reyes wants to undercut his own base of support right there in El Paso.
Where so many jobs have been dependent on NAFTA.
Exactly.
Hispanic jobs, by the way. Mm-hmm. And many feel and felt at the Democratic National Convention bill that it was this NAFTA Clinton appeal with jobs to the Hispanic families along the border that's caused them to really be behind both Clintons, Hillary and Bill, for so long because of the jobs related to NAFTA. And there was nothing I saw at the convention by the Obama people indicating they were really working to try and change this attitude and to really appeal much to the Hispanic voter.
Well, clearly the anti-NAFTA rhetoric appeals to a national audience that's quite different from the regional audience and some of the groups within the Democratic Party. And the balancing act then that they have to do, and Hillary was much more successful at doing this, I think because she has a bit more of an opportunistic streak. But she was a good deal better at sort of playing both sides off. Okay, I'm for NAFTA, but I'm not really for NAFTA.
Yeah,
that's right.
I was against NAFTA during the primary.
That's right.
Had she still been in the mix, she would have tamed that down a lot at this point in time.
Yeah, clearly.
And that is a function of experience. That's one of those areas where you can actually see the distinction between Obama's relatively small experience and the much greater experience that Clinton brings to the table in terms of being out there and listening to what's going on in the party. I don't hold with the notion she's got a lot of executive experience, but I do know that she's been out in touch with the party for a much longer period of time than Obama has, and the result is, I think, shows in that kind of a calculation.
But this opens the door for McCain, who has been a strong supporter of these free trade agreements.
Yes,
and who made two remarks directly targeted toward the Hispanic viewer during his acceptance speech. McCain made two references, one to a Latina daughter of a migrant worker. He made another reference to needing to make sure that immigration reform is done during his administration if he's elected. So that was two pieces of information that Hispanic viewers would have picked up on. Obama had no references that I saw during his acceptance speech to Hispanic voters along the border. Did either one of you see anything in that regard?
No.
But I think both campaigns have yet to reach out effectively to Hispanic voters,
no
both
doubt,
nationally and along the border.
No doubt.
I think in both cases, too, the reason, or one of the reasons, is because they're tap dancing around national issues that assume a very different character when they start being regional or local issues. On the Democratic side, NAFTA; on the Republican side, comprehensive immigration reform. Mm-hmm. Each one has to be very, very careful where they sit on that particular fence, or they alienate their own base.
Barack Obama has been harmed in a huge way with the Hispanic, Mexican-American, Latino voter along the border, with the illness and the cancer battle that Senator Ted Kennedy is fighting at this point. Mm-hmm. If he was out there coming to the border, Ted Kennedy would be able to sway those voters in a big way.
Oh, there's a strong relationship between Hispanic voters, Mexican Americans, with the Kennedy family, going all the way back to the Viva Kennedy clubs when Jack Kennedy was running for president back in 1960. Exactly why that has endured is a little bit hard to identify, but it has endured. And if Ted Kennedy were able to come out there and campaign enthusiastically for Barack Obama, it certainly would be an asset.
Demonstrators were visible when myself and my staff attended the Democratic National Convention in Denver, predominantly in the downtown area, both in the area that was specified by the government and by the city officials where the demonstrators were supposed to be, but in 16th Street in the mall area, we saw a number of demonstrators, Hillary picketers in particular, delegates who were saying no more intimidation of Hillary delegates. So they were having some kind of a problem outside of the hall and wanting to make sure that the rest of the world knew that they were being intimidated as Hillary delegates by the Obama control of the Democratic National Convention.
Well, it's understandable that the Obama people are going to want to choreograph the convention so that it would appear that everybody has gotten behind Barack Obama. And these delegates obviously wanted to make a stronger statement about their support for Hillary. So I'm not surprised by that.
I find it interesting that their strong statement was in Denver and pretty much confined to Denver with the collusion of the national media. Because I really didn't see, I mean, you saw films of various groups protesting one thing and another. And they did mention that there were delegates that were disaffected with the entire situation. But I think they played down dramatically the split within the Democratic Party, which I think it continues. I don't think it's gone away. I think it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Knopp, Professor Emeritus,
always
University
a pleasure.
of Texas, Brownsville.
Pleasure, Ron.
Thank you for coming. Political science professor for many, many years, UTB, and Bill Harris, professor also at University of Texas, Brownsville. Thank you for coming and being with us on the program. Thank you. Till next time, adios.